I think I'm on again. The screens are flipping up and down between the two screens I have here. Anyway, that was very impressive. Jason Whipple has been 20 years of experience in commercial real estate, mostly engineering and managing integrated building solutions for the Fortune 500 global companies. Jason worked on designing and building multidisciplinary integrated ecosystems capable of meeting customer needs and experience in delivering enterprise level OT and IT convergence frameworks. And with that, Jason, over to your presentation, I guess.
Thank you, Eric, for the introduction. And let me start by saying how grateful we are to participate today. Small little note in the beginning, it looks like that was an older video. Our name has changed to IBIS. So IBIS is our company name, just make sure that's clear. What we wanted to focus on for this webinar is the smart building strategies that produce dynamic and flexible workspaces that adapt to the ever-changing conditions we all find ourselves in recently. We will start by sharing some feedback that we are receiving from our clients regarding changing priorities for the occupancy of their buildings. The last couple of years have certainly been chaotic and full of often conflicting information coming from every direction. What has become evident to our clients and us is that the importance of ventilation and the changing work paradigm are the two concepts that deserve a higher priority than they have in the past. So, to address ventilation, we have found that most organizations are reticent to make massive investments in equipment modifications. Instead, our perspective is that taking a proactive approach to confirming the operation of existing ventilation systems provides the most bang for the buck to assure safe environments for their occupants. On the hybrid work side, we certainly have seen that various flexible work strategies can be rolled out without major changes to building operations, but this produces a waste of energy and funds compared to the reduced occupancy levels of the building. There have been more and more articles released regarding areas with low office building occupancy rates and only minor drops in energy use. For example, a recent article last month on downtown Pittsburgh reported that occupancy is still down 83%, but the energy use in office buildings only fell 4% compared to pre-pandemic levels. We recognize this as not only a waste of resources and contrary to environmental goals, but also as a massive opportunity for efficiency improvements. Now, not every organization can start implementing these changes on the spot, and justifying smart buildings and smart building improvements is often a bigger challenge than installing a smart building itself. Our strategy for this challenge is to approach creating or modifying smart buildings by focusing on the performance in three key areas: the occupants, the environment, and the business. Viewing each project through this lens allows an organization to validate the value as well as frequently quantify it so that strong KPIs can be created. Beyond that, it is important to analyze how dynamic a system you are installing is. Can it perform at the same efficiency levels with 10% occupancy as it can with 90% occupancy? As mentioned before, this wasn't an important question previously, but now it is critical to understand losses of operation performance at less than design conditions. Applying the areas of value using change management strategies and in-depth analysis of potential scenarios can drive successful projects through the long term. As the smart building technology partner, we find our clients can proceed with more confidence after utilizing these strategies with us. To proceed more into the technical side of the topic, we wanted to revisit a diagram we use frequently that shows cascading levels of building technology systems. What we find is that the conversations concerning AI, digital twins, and data lakes you see at the top of the pyramid are certainly worth having, but the value to the three areas of occupants, environment, and business are better captured at lower levels you see here in the center blue section, specifically mentioning the three in the lower left category of that blue section: indoor environmental quality and integrated smart sequences of operations. What is also vital to explain in this diagram is that the quality of systems and data below directly affect the performance of the systems above. And in the case of the AI, data lake, and digital twin, it can be extreme, as errors and data collection gaps compound and can produce incorrect results. We work with our clients to guide investments in areas that have the greatest net benefits from the bottom up, so that the improvement projects can continue to be approved, so that eventually the advanced technologies are a potential and can be achieved successfully. I have been mostly speaking about conceptual principles because while we are a technology company, we find it serves our clients better to make sure the guidance comes before the detailed technical information we could provide. That said, I wanted to share how we are putting the principles I've discussed into action. These examples are projects that are in successful operation today and are not pilot technologies, but real solutions deployed over dozens of buildings. The top left screenshot is examples our IEQ solution, how we measure air and environmental quality conditions. This data has been able to allow us to see when a room has been cleaned, a general number of people in the room, and other valuable data, as well as verify ventilation effectiveness. The top right and bottom, so the right-hand side of the screen here, those two screenshots show how we are calculating the volume of fresh air entering a space and displaying that information in fresh air changes per hour so that operations can tell how long it takes to fully ventilate a space between uses, as well as confirm ventilation operation. It's important to note here that no hardware was installed to achieve this result. The bottom left shows how we use existing lighting system occupancy sensors to track space utilization. This data can then be used to put parts of the building and floor that are not in use into an unoccupied mode, saving on fan and cooling and heating energy. This data can be shared with other building technologies or combined with integrations into space reservation applications so that zones can be prepared prior to occupancy and real-time occupancy can be shared with the reservation system. Since we are capturing all the historical data through various operational technologies, you can use tools like the heat maps you can see on the right-hand side of each of the screens, as well as a graphical rewind feature to see conditions at a previous point in time so that troubleshooting issues can be performed easily. This is, of course, only a sampling of what can be done with smart buildings, and we hope that we've been able to share how adaptation to changing conditions can be managed and provide opportunity. So that wraps up the IBIS presentation, and I appreciate the opportunity again to present our perspective. Eric, back to you.
Thank you so much. A very interesting story, Jason. As a solution provider, do you see a lack of technology as an obstacle to smart buildings? And if not, what is the largest obstacle from your perspective?
I think the technology is there, especially when they are all integrated. There are some impressive use cases that can be executed for sustainability, health, wellness, and improving the bottom line. We have clients with integrations to workspace reservation systems, air quality, occupancy tracking, that all really allows us to create highly effective and efficient strategies, especially in the flex workspace environments. What we see as the largest obstacle is the drive for smart buildings projects from the right levels within an organization. In the past, we've helped our clients make cases for smart building projects to the C-suite with roadmaps, strategies, ROIs. And what we frequently discover is that despite how good the investment may be or how good we're proving that this is a good project, there is resistance to the belief that a smart building affects more than energy. The healthy building movement is helping this cause, but there is still work to do in changing those mindsets.
Yeah. What building data do you feel is not being captured and what should be captured?
That's a tough question because there's so much information that isn't being captured currently. It seems like we capture a lot, but there's a lot more. A good example to me is, there's a lot of DX rooftop package units, and we usually get, are they running or not? But there's so much information like suction pressure, discharge pressure, all that refrigerant system data that we could be analyzing and using. But the highest value data to me that is not being captured is occupancy data. I've been saying this a long time. And now I think it's even more critical because occupancy rates are so much less predictable. Running buildings without this occupancy data or this count of how many people are in the building, it's kind of like keeping the shower running just in case someone feels like taking a shower. The building's facilities should be precisely controlled to the number of people in the building and to where they're located in the building.
Hey, and we got, interesting. Obviously, when you talk about occupancy, I think you're talking about a much higher granularity than just being able to say a room is occupied or not.
Yeah, and it can actually, there's value in every level. I mean, there's value in just knowing how many people are in the building. This is This is a very simple thing that we all just kind of took for granted before because we knew our buildings were about 90% occupied or what have you. But now we just don't know. And, trying to compare energy use to past doesn't make sense anymore because the occupancy of the building has changed. So those comparisons don't matter. So that is just basically a new metric that needs to be popular.
We also have a question coming in from the audience, and the question is, how do you measure the IEQ without the addition of additional sensors?
It's a good question. So we actually, IEQ and ventilation tracking, we put a differentiation between those two. What we do is we calculate the amount of percentage of outside airflow coming through the air handler units, and then do calculations down to every zone level using the existing airflow sensors that are already installed. So it is all calculation, but using those calculations, we can tell essentially how frequently a room air change has happened from fresh air.
Thanks. You also mentioned digital twin. I've been into digital twin. As soon as I finished the edge building, I realized with 28,000 sensors in the ceiling, there's no way I want to manually connect those to, in our case, Azure IoT. So hence Microsoft started this whole smart space now called digital twin. My personal view is you can't do this IoT without digital twin, but I think you have a kind of a more reluctant kind of view on it. Can you add to that?
Yeah, I don't know if reluctant would be how I would phrase my personal opinion. I think cautious is probably the better term, because what we found is even our enterprise campus level unified user interface enterprise application, there is a lot of time and effort that goes into making sure the data we receive is accurate. And that's not just a one-time thing, that's a continual process. And those errors, when you use things at the high level like AI and digital twins, those minor errors end up being major calculation results, major errors in calculations results. So to me, if we need to focus on doing all of those fundamental applications much better with much higher quality before we can rely on the results at that higher level at AI and digital twin. I'm not saying it's not possible, not at all. It's certainly done. But I think for the vast majority of people, especially listening to this call, focusing on those core fundamentals, on those high value items in the center should be the focus at currently.
Yeah, and obviously you mentioned as well as Mark initially, this pyramid, this stack of not only the capabilities, but the value goes along with that. So I like that a lot. So thank you so much, Jason, for your presentation. I'm sure people know how to connect to you, and obviously we have another opportunity later on when we have the panel together.